This meeting is being recorded.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Who Knew in the Moment, the podcast. I'm your host, Phil Friedrich, and today I'm honored to have Carmelia Ray with me. Carmelia is a celebrity matchmaker and we're going to call her a love guru. So she helps people that are searching and really then connecting them with people that are going to be compatible. And I think as we talk about her story, we're going to hear a story of just really being focused and clear on where she wants to go, and that's help her reach where she's at. So Carmelia, thanks so much for being on today.
Well, thanks so much for having me. And I'm honored. It's always a privilege to be able to share my story. And hopefully, it will help and inspire some of your listeners.
No doubt it will. So to start your story, even back in high school, you just enjoyed being able to connect with all different types of people. So talk a little bit about, having a personality that vibes with multiple types of people, opposed to in high school, it can oftentimes be very cliquey.
Well, how did you know that, first of all?
I did some research.
Really? Oh my goodness. That is not something everybody would know, because some people have had, like, they'll say they have really awkward high school moments, or they were bullied, or they experienced some kind of, negative situation. But from primary, I think I was in like drama class, right? I think my first role was I was holding the Star of Bethlehem, even though it was a silent part. Like, I would play birds and anything that I could to get on a stage. And so when I was in high school,
Yeah.
I'm Filipino Canadian, but by the time my parents moved from Toronto to Brampton, which is a suburb out of Toronto, the main hub. By that point, when I was 14 in grade 9, the population of the school was far more diverse, like ethnically diverse. But high school was very cliquey. So you would see the Filipinos and the Jamaicans and Trinidadians and jocks and Italians and nerds, or whatever all the classes are. But I never really subscribed to any one clique or group. Of course, I had some central friends, but I really liked to surround myself and stay kind of neutral, right? I was
Yeah.
always, I think that I've been a social butterfly since I was little. And so for me, high school was amazing. But if your research may not tell you, I dropped out of high school. I and I didn't, and I was somebody who was very proud of my academics. Always had straight A's as a kid, and my dad was very, very strict, and so he wanted to raise me in the traditional Filipino, you can't go out and talk to boys way. And I'm like, well, you came to Canada, and I'm an independent woman, so I'm out of here. And I regret that choice, but I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't make those choices. And I think, who knew in the moment, right? This is part of
Yeah.
what you do. So yeah, I dropped out of high school. Well, I left home, and then I ended up actually completing my diploma, my high school diploma, but when I was 21, because I'm like, by the time I snapped out of it and got out of my rebellious teen stage, and I decided that, yeah, I guess I should get at least a high school diploma, right? So I got it.
There you go. So for you in that, as you're transitioning and doing something different than what we would say most are doing, what were some lessons that you were able to learn in that process?
Well, you never know. I guess looking back, you never know what I mean, some people have a chosen career path.
Yep.
I was supposed to be an academic. I was supposed to be someone who got a job, a university education, maybe a PhD and master's. That was the academic path that my parents would have loved me to pursue. And that didn't happen because I made different choices, and I was a rebellious teen, and you couldn't tell me what to do. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I started in a job as a telemarketer. So my
Yeah.
first job was working for a dating service, and this is in
Yes.
1992, Phil. I don't know how old you were, but that gives you a little bit of idea how long I've been doing this. It's been 30 years, right? So
Yeah.
You might have been in diapers at that point. So when you were in diapers, I got my first job and it was in a call center. And this is before Facebook and social media or any real technology existed. So back
Yeah.
then, people advertised radio, television, word of mouth, billboards, newspapers, and through the mail, like US Post or Canada Post. For your listeners, I'm a Toronto based entrepreneur, but I work with clients across North America and the UK. Like I have a global
Yes.
membership. That being said, that first job in a call center for a dating service, did not know that that was going to be my last job, and that would
Mm,
turn ultimately into my career. Had no
yeah.
idea that I was going to do that. So that was interesting.
Yes. Now, and the way that you got into that, if I understand correctly, is you had a boyfriend that was working there, and that was kind of the
Yes.
prompt for you to get started into that world. So,
No,
at,
I had my high school sweetheart. We weren't dating at the time.
okay.
He was my first high school sweetheart in grade 9, and all we did was hold hands because that's all I was allowed to do, which is why I ran away. Anyway, we kept in touch because I do, and I'm really proud to say that many of my high school friends and best friends I'm still in contact with today. So I've managed to maintain friendships beyond like 20, 30 years, right? Childhood
Yeah.
friends even. So he said he's the one who told me about the job. And again, it was calling on the phone, like literally dialing I wouldn't say it's a sweatshop, but
Yeah.
it was like cold calling, right? So these
Right.
people, they did fill out a form, and they put their name and number, and I read a script and I knew what to say, and apparently I was really good at it. So he's the one who got me the job. He ended up leaving. I stayed. He went to a completely different professional path. I think this was the job that I was supposed to do before I found my real job, and it
Yeah.
ended up being my real job. And for many, many years, my own father, who is passed away January 7th, 2020. Rest in peace, Dad. But he was always like, he's a professional. All of his brothers and sisters are professionals. He's a nuclear engineer, a civil engineer, all the engineering diplomas and accolades. My mom's an accountant, professional accountant. And so both my parents' degrees and working jobs. And here I am. I'm a matchmaker. So it was hard for him to like, that's not a real job. I remember him saying that I was a pimp. I'm a professional pimp, and it was kind of funny, but I don't think he understood it. And I don't think he ever classified that as a real job until I started getting media notoriety. I had my own television show, and he's watching me in the news on morning television. And then it's like, oh, my daughter's a matchmaker.
Yeah.
Now it's credible, right? So
Now, what would your advice be to somebody that is wanting to pursue a path that maybe people in their circle are not overly excited for them to pursue? But being resilient and saying, "Hey, if you really feel like that's where you're being called, or that's a passion of yours, to pursue that."
I think many, many entrepreneurs, as I'm classify myself now as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. In 2010, I made the decision to go on my own. Previous
Yeah.
to that, I'd worked for a company. But whether you're an entrepreneur or working for a business, and you're pursuing something that is off the expected path, I'm an immigrant. I think a lot of your listeners may be able to resonate. Having your parents wish and want for you to follow in their footsteps,
Yeah.
whatever makes you happy,
Mm,
whatever makes you fulfilled, whatever you do that helps you to sleep at night, and to know that it's worth the aggravation, the headache, the whatever, the pushback.
yeah.
As long as you can see that vision and you have a strong belief in yourself, to a degree, it really doesn't matter what other people think. And again, there's provisions to that, right? Are you hurting people? Are you
Right.
doing something that is helping? Because, if you're a parent, you can't just go do what you like and not take care of responsibilities.
Yep.
So think about things. I don't ever discount I care about what my family says, but I look at what's the meaning behind it. What's their concern? Why do they not like this? Maybe there's a lack of understanding, and
Yeah.
maybe I need to share that vision. For some people who are very focused, they won't share their vision with other people, and maybe that's why they can kind of isolate themselves. There are people that nose to the wall, secret project, they're on their own, the mad scientist. So they've got to just be able to understand and accept the impacts of whatever they're choosing to do. Okay. Because I have a lot of people that come to me now because they sacrificed their love life for a career, and they're now making their love life a priority. And of course, some people reach out to me at your age, millennials, Gen Z, because there's familial pressure to get married. And they're reaching out to me because their parents and friends won't stop talking to them about, you got to get married, and where's my kid, and I need my lineage to go there. So that pressure's never great, and it's how you handle that pressure, right?
Yep. No, that's really good. Now, as you're working in the matchmaking world, you work your way up through this company and become an executive inside of it. So talk a little bit about the path to that, from answering or making cold calls to executive. There's a bit of a gap there.
Yes. Number one, when you are good at something, and anybody who wants to climb the corporate ladder or the company ladder, wherever that is, there's always a starting point.
Yep.
And I knew nothing about relationships. I was in my early 20s, and here I am having to talk to men and women that were twice, 3 times my age, because most of the applicants or the customers that were interested in learning about it were people that were wanting serious long-term relationship, or men and women who had failed marriages or failed relationships that wanted love the second time.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've always been, what's the task? And how do I, what's the result you want?
Yeah.
What do I have to do? And how do I get there and beat it? Right. That's always been my goal. So in anything, right? Okay, how do I win this game? I'm very competitive, even with my brothers, right? They're like, man, can't you just have fun? I'm like, yeah, but I want to win. Not always. So that being said, I had a script. I knew that my job was to book appointments. I knew that through their own training, that in order to book more appointments, people had to feel comfortable with you. You had to be the kind of person that could listen well.
Yeah.
And whether or not I had experience, because if someone would say to me, well, what qualifies you to, give me advice? And I'm like, well, it's not about qualifying. It's not about my qualifications. I'm presenting an opportunity for you.
Right.
This is not about me. This is an opportunity for you. And here's the results that we've gotten for other people. Here's what you said you've been doing. Well, that way hasn't worked. So what do you have to lose by exploring this opportunity? Right? That's simple English. And I just think I had a way of having people remove their loosen up their arms a bit, or have them change their perspective. Because back in the day, even now, some people are like, I don't want to do online dating. They have this negative attachment to online dating, or they have this negative attachment to needing a professional. Well, and sometimes men will struggle. Well, I know how to hunt. I can hunt on my own, right? It's like, all right, but I'm not saying you can't hunt on your own, but I don't want to do my taxes. That's why my accountant does it. And I don't want to change my oil. That's why the oil person changes it, right? So if you understand, and that's the path, when you understand the need of your customer, the need of the person, and you're able to have them see that you can help them achieve that result, then it's easy. Whatever you have to do that ethically, and not by twisting people's arm. I also didn't offer this service to everyone. If somebody I was speaking on the phone and they genuinely were not a fit, then I would say, this is not a fit. We don't have, Robert Redford, or we don't, I'm so old now, like Robert Redford. Hello. You people don't even know who he is.
He was good. Where the Redford grows. Yeah, he was in a lot of good movies.
We don't have George Clooney's and Tom Cruise's. I just saw the Top Gun second man was
Yeah.
amazing. You know, we don't have all of these people falling off trees, right? So you want to be realistic with people also. So once I started making sales, and then they were like, well, who's this hotshot? Like I was putting in the numbers, and then the management would like, how did you do that? Or how are you doing that? And then they would record me and I would show them how I did it. And then it's like, well, you think you can teach other people how to do that? Or have somebody sit beside you and have them listen to what you say and how you say it. I'm like, sure. Then I started training people because your numbers will talk, your results will talk, no matter where you are in the company, right?
Yep.
Even kids academically, when children come in and they're academically advanced, they don't keep them there. They put them at the grade level that they're meant to perform at. So I had, they recognized very quickly that I was gifted in having these kinds of conversations. And then I quickly became someone that taught other people how to break the ice, how to connect, how to ask questions in a way that didn't seem like an interrogation. And now I teach clients how to have better dating life, how to ask better questions, how to relax, how to smile on camera, how to speak, you know, all of those different things that many people take for granted, or skill sets that we're not born with. You know, dating can be very difficult. And so for me, it was always just about figuring out the unique individual and not treating everybody like they're the same. When you can customize your conversation to have the other person in front of you feel comfortable, like you get them. Because what's the difference for me? Like, there's so much difference when I'm talking to a 21-year-old, to an 85-year-old, to a blue collar guy, to a multi-millionaire. Yet I can have those conversations with anybody on the planet and hopefully have them feel comfortable with me. So that I think that that's a gift that I was taught through my upbringing and just being social and being curious about other people.
Yes. So as you progressed in your career and you once again reached to the executive level, you had met a friend named Pat who had encouraged you to start doing some work maybe even outside of what work was offering. So talk a little bit about the transition from executive, Pat's advice, and starting your own thing.
Oh man, you do your research. I am very impressed. Did you hire a private? Like, what the heck? Anyway, you're good. You're really good. All right. So in 2010, between 2010 and 2011, I can't remember the exact date, but my current business partner now, he's been my business partner since 2010. We met, and his website is smbmaster.com, which is social media blog master. So at that time, 10 years ago, he was building websites, and he was building websites for influencers who are now Instagram influencers, like pretty big people in companies. And so when he met me, we were at a bar downtown, and I'm like, he goes, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I'm a matchmaker and a relationship expert." He's like, "How long?" We talk, and he realized I was doing it for a long time. And he's like, "Man, I always wanted to create like a dating product, but I never met a matchmaker, and I've never met a relationship expert that has your experience." So by that time, I had been doing this for over 15, like close to 20 years. And he's like, "You should start a blog. In fact, I'm going to start a blog with you. I'm going to do the tech part, you do the writing, and together we will, conquer the dating world, so to speak." And I was like, okay. And so, now lots of blogs are monetized, like social media is monetized. So I started with that blog. And what's funny, Phil, back then, I guess other executives, or when you're working for a company, me as an employee, starting my own blog in the dating space, that my company at the time actually felt it was competitive and that I was competing against them. And meanwhile, I was positioning them to say, my blog is going to help your company. In fact, I intend to write this blog to be a lead source to have people use this service, because I had no interest in creating my own service. The blessing in disguise, and what I love, like, who knew in the moment that by them not being open to having me, their top salesperson and top leader in the moment, say, you either have that blog or you have to let go of your position. And they knew, like, they've known me forever, and they knew that I was married, I had 2 little kids, I had a mortgage. My entire salary and life was fueled by this job. And it was, I was making over 6 figures, like with benefits and all that stuff. The blog was making 0. Like,
Right.
I'm like less than 0. It was costing me money, right? It was costing me money. But Pat just was so convincing, and he worked for himself. And the idea of me, like, he's like, you can do this. Like, he really believed in me. And I had a runway of a certain amount of time, because I knew, okay, how much, when am I going to go broke? How much time do I have here? Right. So I made a decision to leave. I think that the company was like, oh, I don't know if we really meant that, but sorry.
Yeah.
You tested me and don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do my own thing. So I did that. And then it was about 2 years, maybe a year, when I had probably a year and a half that I had replaced my income. And more importantly, I feel I had my freedom. So the freedom aspect of working for yourself and not having to report to anybody. Reporting to me is a scary thing, right? Like reporting to yourself. Any entrepreneur has to report themselves. They have to look at themselves in the mirror. They got to look at their bank account. They have to feed their family or themselves, whatever. So I think that's the biggest motivator I've ever had. I've been motivated more as an entrepreneur than I've ever had working for a company. So
now, to your point, I'm noticing the trend of stubbornness in you, but as you are separating, as you're separating, you're starting your own business. Once again, anyone that's ever started their own understands that it's not day one, all of a sudden things are trickling in. It's a lot of, I'm putting out feelers, I'm doing what I can, but it's delayed gratification at its finest. Talk about getting through that emotionally in those early months of the business, and talk about also the power of having your friend that believed in you, maybe before you even believed in yourself.
I'll say this one thing. I would have never made the choice to, the truth is I would have never made the choice to leave a guaranteed good thing, where at that point I was working probably 35 hours a week, making really good money, and nothing, like, my life was good, right? Like, it was, I didn't need for anything or whatever. Yet I wouldn't have made that move if I really didn't feel held back, because it was my ideas, and social media started coming in. I started to attend other conferences, and I really saw the lack of like the jar that was on the lid, that was on the opportunity jar for me. So I left because I was very confident in myself. But of course, when somebody else who has the skill set, that it was like the perfect marriage. I had all the information in my brain. I didn't know tech. I didn't know how to write a blog. And he had the launching pad. So, and he was the best at it. Like, I'm talking, I lucked out. This guy's the best at it. I'm going to say that he's the best at it. And so it was easy for me to make that choice, because I wasn't doing it alone. And a lot of entrepreneurs, unfortunately, people who go solo, they don't always have that perfect partner. They have themselves. And of course, in the beginning, I wore every single hat, but I had confidence in that. And the second thing is, I knew that financially, once again, I believed in myself enough that I knew that I couldn't let myself fail, because everything was on the line. And Phil, I was going through a separation in that time, going through a very difficult separation. My son was a year old. My daughter was under 10, like she's 8. Really difficult separation, starting a business, like cashing out this and that for me to get going. But I followed the structure that he told me to follow, and I trusted him and he trusted me. I worked my butt off. And in doing that, I was able to, support myself, replace my salary. And then I got a television show in 2014. I had been writing now for 3 years. The blog now has been dated. So when you Googled me in 2011, matchmaker Carmelia Ray, I was on page 800. Like I wasn't in the top first page, right? So now for online dating expert, I'm ranking very well globally for many different top keywords in the dating business because I had devoted a lot of time to creating content and writing and all of those things. And then of course, getting the because of that, I got the attention of a production company, which landed me a TV show. I did 4 seasons of that show. And then it's been media after media and interviews and many things after that. So I've had a lot of national exposure. I write for a lot of big magazines. I'm doing brand deals now and working with different brands, working with small businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs. So I do a lot more than matchmaking as a result of my matchmaking really introducing me to so many interesting entrepreneurs. And that's my forte. I really like to work with entrepreneurs or C-level executives who are really crushing it and they're high performers that have like found they spent all their time in their career, didn't spend time on their love life, and now they want to address that. So that's the niche that I'm in.
Yeah. Now, you talked about because of what you were doing in 2010, 2011, in 2014, you get this opportunity. The problem is most people want to see instant results from it, right? Hey, I wrote 2 or 3 blogs. Well, no one's reaching out to me. I'm, not trending. I'm not, at the top of the list, but you kept doing it. Talk about the power of, just being consistent and showing up even when there's not direct results coming from the effort put in right away.
Yeah. Well, again, you have to be realistic when you're setting goals.
Yeah.
And for those who have never heard of the SMART goal acronym, and that's SMART, do you know the SMART goal? Goals should be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So I knew starting your own business from scratch, most people do not profit for the first 2 years. Some people don't profit for the first 3 years if they're in products or they're building enterprise or whatever that is. So as a solopreneur, then I knew I wasn't going to see any money likely for 6 months. Like I could have probably taken sales and I had the ability to sell ice to an Eskimo, but I didn't want to do it that way. I knew that I needed to build a foundation. I knew that I needed to blog, and I had a great coach. And I also invested in many coaches in the early part of my career. So I hired a branding coach. I hired a course launch coach. I had a social media manager. I hired I paid for everything. I paid for learning and training, and I was just a sponge. And I had my coach, like Pat, in a way, we mentored each other, right?
Yeah.
Like I shared some skills with him, but he knew what to do. He said, you got to do this, 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 and this. How many blogs do I have to write? You have to write at least 55 before Google finds you. And you got to have unique content. You can't just do it here and there, and you got to guest post, and you got to, now it's all video, right? So now I have to get on video and blah, blah, blah. So if you know what to do, you just got to do it. I mean, I don't lose weight. I turned 50 in March. This is my 50th year, right?
Wow.
And I wanted to lose a certain amount of weight. And I'm like, I want to really look great for my 50th birthday. I'm tired of like making excuses. My baby's almost 6 this year. Like, I can't say I have post-baby body. She's 5. She's talking now, right? So I'm like, I want to lose this weight. That being said, until I got serious and followed the plan and ate the way I ate and exercised the way I exercised, nothing was going to change.
Yeah.
So I had to make that choice. So it's being realistic. So if you don't have the patience for it, if you go into something and you don't know, first of all, that would create a ton of anxiety. And of course, I enter a lot of new relationships and I enter a lot of new businesses without knowing, but I try not to make to go blind into situations. I'm into anything now without asking the right questions. Okay, how long is it going to take? How much money am I going to need? How much work will that take? I'm a mom. What's the impact to my kids? Do I need to have someone watch them? Like, there's so much to think about when you're building a business. So, Phil, there were no surprises to me that it was going to be difficult. And Pat laid that out, that keyword strategy, SEO is always a long-term play. Dating and matchmaking is one of the most competitive places for ranking using keyword search. Okay, that's when you type into Google and you hope that keyword search brings your name up, right? Same thing with podcasting. You're in a podcast. Very few podcasts can be the Joe Rogans. And how long did it take for Joe Rogan to sell his podcast for $100 million? He'd been doing it for years and consistently. So when you know that everybody knows what to do, it's, are they doing it? And Phil, I can tell you right now, I have some lazy days. I've had lazy months. In the very beginning, to be frank with you, I think I probably had a 3-month burnout period myself where I was like, this is not going to happen. I'm not used to having fluctuating income because I had a steady income and I wasn't used to budgeting like budgeting. I'm like, what is this? I have to think about these purchase decisions, right? And so it was difficult. It was very humbling. But I think that, and there were many failures. I have to say, many failures. I don't want to sit here and tell you that my path to being where I'm at in my business was lovely and successful and everybody opened doors for me. No, I had doors slam in my face. I've had, upset situations. I've had things go on in my personal life, things go on with my kids. I'm a normal human being. So what those things teach me, that is, I'm human. I have emotions. I have breakdowns, but I also have a great mentorship, a good support system, and I'm stubborn. And that stubbornness works both ways.
Yes.
I am not gonna, no matter what, I'm not gonna fail. And I've always said that to my kids and to my family. I'm like, if I have to scrub toilets, I'm gonna scrub toilets. If I have to cook and clean and do whatever the hell I gotta do to put food on the table or to get whatever I want, within reason, I'm going to do those things. I'm never going to be beneath doing hard work to get to where I need to go.
That's awesome. Now, you referenced a TV show and it's Mom versus Matchmaker. And the premise is, all right, my mom knows me better than this matchmaker could. And so she is going to be able to figure out who I should be dating better than who the matchmaker would pick for me to be dating. Now, the curious thing is, well, there's no doubt that the mom has known that person longer, but the question would be, do they really know them better or know what they need best? So talk a little bit about the difference of what you would see and what you would navigate versus maybe what you would see a mom navigating for that person.
Okay. Well, first of all, you would be perfect example, I think. Is your mom alive?
Yes.
Do you have a relationship with your mother?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think your mom would pick good women for you if she had the opportunity to?
She would pick good women. I don't know that she would pick the women that I would probably want to date. Yeah.
There you go. So here's where here's the pros and cons to that, right?
Yeah.
If your mom really knows you, and depending on the kind of relationship, culture, proximity, conversation that you have with your mom, like my mom would be a horrible matchmaker for me. Terrible matchmaker for me. Okay. Love you, Mom. Terrible matchmaker for me. And to a degree, I have a 23-year-old daughter and I have a son who's going to be 18. I don't think it would be funny if I competed against myself and saw if I could choose the right people. Yeah. I can't choose their clothes. Right. They hate I can't choose the right food. Like my kids have style on their own. So the thing is, some moms who have that close relationship. And some moms really got it. Like
Yeah,
they're
right.
like best friends. They met every boyfriend, and other moms, they have no clue. It's almost comical. It's like, my son deserves a nice Jewish girl who educated and, prim and proper and whatever. And like they it's like, oh, they don't know what they want. Mom knows what
Right.
they want. So when mom is picking based on who mom thinks child should date, that's never a match, because there's no consideration for what the child wants, especially when their position is, well, this person's been single their whole life, so I'm going to pick somebody because their picker's broken, right?
Right.
So there's that. And then to a degree as well, even though someone sits across from me, and even with clients, they'll prioritize things and they'll say things like, they got to have this, and this. And I'm not going to say I intentionally ignore,
Yep.
but if I get somebody and I'm like, they don't need to like chess like you, the way you like chess, or no, he doesn't have to have brown hair. He could have, like, these little things are just nuances, right? They're just prioritizing the wrong thing. However, you have to understand really and truly what really matters when it comes to a date, and then how does someone connect with somebody, and what's that connection based on? The issue with the first date and a show like Mom versus Matchmaker, let's face it, it's going to be primarily physical, unfortunately. You have one date to choose, and most time these kids chose who was hotter.
Right.
Even if I picked a better date, they just chose whoever was hotter. Like, and I'm like, oh, come on. Like they could have put their foot in their mouth and said the wrong thing, and but she's hotter or he's hotter, and that was it. So it's kind of fun. It was a good time.
Yeah. Now, in your professional background, once again, I mean, I would hate to know how many consultations you've done. I'm sure it's tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 at this point, right? Now, I would be curious to know how many times people come to you thinking they want a relationship, but it's really just the people in their life wanting it for them.
Well, from a coaching perspective, yes, somebody who's going to hire me has to make an investment. So they're not going to invest money in a process that they're not sure about. No one's spending $5,000 more and upwards if they're not sure. So let's get that clear. However, if somebody comes to me and says, I'm not sure, and you know what? There are some people that they're curious about matchmaking, they want to explore it, and they're like, okay, well, I better really know if I want somebody then, right? Because you don't go and get cosmetic surgery on a whim. Like most people, they think about this stuff before they go under the knife, right? Like, you're not, half pregnant. It's a commitment, right? So, but for people who are deciding, and again, a lot of people approach me and they need coaching. I'm not sure. I'm getting over a partner. I don't know if this is right for me or not. I might need some help. All of the matchmaking programs that I offer comes with coaching, but there are some people that could benefit just from the coaching and really being clear who they are, what they bring to the table, what are they looking for. We do a lot of work with people in that discovery. And a lot of people I've discovered have been very silent about their needs, have no clue as far as what they want. And getting insight from a professional, again, if I know branding, I know sales, but like I'm not going to say I'm the best. So when I started my business, I hired the best branding coach that I could find, right? I hired the best public speaking training that I could find, whatever it is, right? Because I was serious about it. But if I'm not serious about going to flight school, I'm hardly going to drop $50,000 to go learn how to fly a plane when I'm not interested, like I might be. So hopefully that answers your question.
Absolutely. Now, what would be one or two implementable pieces of advice you would give people that are in the dating realm? And once again, I know it's always like if you were coaching, it would be very specific to the person, but in general, what's one or two good pieces of advice?
All right. I'll give one physical piece and one mental piece. Okay. And this
Perfect.
happened very, very recently to a client of mine. So the physical piece is you always want to lead. And this is my opinion, and people can argue it. I know some people that post average looking profile photos because if they're not attracted to me looking my worst, then forget about it. I'm like, they're swiping left, sweetheart. I'm sorry, they are swiping left. They don't want to see you without makeup until date 5, okay? And you're in bed with them. So anyway, yeah, so lead with your best accurate, flattering body photo, like at least like waist up, give an idea. Don't just like pretty face. Like this applies for guys too. I don't care if you're got a receding hairline, if you've got bad, like show me the stuff. Sometimes when people don't smile, we're like, okay, what's this? What, like there's something not, are they missing teeth? What's going on here? They got glasses on, like you look cool, but I can connect with that. So please, please, please lead with a great photo. So if I use myself as an example, I'm using color. Even if I took a picture like this, my dimension, I'd probably like be up a little bit more, but I have professional lighting. Light, please. Please show me your face. Please don't have distractions. And please like put your best face forward. Number one. Second thing, mindset. Oh my God. Mindset's so important when it comes to, are you like dating? Now, I had a new client working with me, and she was a little nervous about the first date or the first match we had. So I coached her a little bit on the expectations, the goal of the first date, how she go into it. And when she finished that date and the next day, she's like, you know what? Your coaching before the date really helped me to go into that date with such a good attitude without any expectation that it was going to go this way or that way. But what can I learn from it? This is going to be fun. And like, she said that really, she goes, before I spoke to you, I would have went in guarded and it would have felt, my energy was just so different, but I had a different like pep in my step. So your mindset, how you go into that date, what you're expecting, get it off you, right? Take everything off you. And are they going to ask me the right questions? And what are they going to compliment? Like focus on learning about the other person. Every time you focus on you and your feelings and what did they do or they didn't do, it's always going to take away from the experience because then they can never be right, right? And you want to go into a date with that generosity and that kindness of giving that benefit of the doubt. Well, maybe they're nervous. Maybe they don't have a lot of dating experience. Instead of jumping to all of these assumptions and taking it personal when somebody isn't doing or saying the things that you expect them to do or say. And so it's never, that's what I would say. Your mindset in going into a date and into anything is very, very important. So being positive, as you said, you asked me a lot of questions like, how did you stay positive? And how did you continue to be consistent? And how did you what would happen if I'm not those things? Like, what's the result I'm going to get if I go in with a shitty attitude? What's the result I'm going to get if I, have closed doors, or if I'm nervous, or if I'm like feeling like every guy just wants to sleep with me? Like there's all of these different things going on for people. So just go in with a positive mindset and the opportunity to learn and to gain experience. And I think that's where people are going to have a much better experience in anything that they do.
Yes. Now, to bring us to today, you're still doing that, but you've done so well at that now there's people that want to join an academy that you have so they can learn to be the next version of you. So talk a little bit about your academy and what you're doing there.
Yes. So the Matchmaking Academy is in partnership with myself, 2 other matchmakers. Hunt is a award-winning dating coach, friend of mine in the industry for over, I think it's 12 years now, 10 years. And then Michelle G is also a celebrity matchmaker and also dating coach and relationship expert. And so the 3 of us created the Matchmaking Academy, which is an opportunity to help develop, train, and support any love professionals that want to have a career as a love expert or matchmaker. So that's matchmakingacademy.com. And I grew up in the industry, and my role when I was employed for a dating company was to hire, train, develop manage customer service, manage sales, manage appointment setting, manage customer service. So I'm just teaching all of the skills and all of the processes to run a successful business in matchmaking, or really in anything, so that they can feel more confident to have a profitable, successful business.
Love it. Well, I just want to say thank you for sharing your story and the pivotal moments. Are there any other moments that stick out to you as you reflect back on your journey that are kind of like those who knew moments that we didn't highlight yet?
No, I mean, I think the who knew for me was really me having this long of a career in this industry, right? And also, who knew that at 44 I was going to have another child. So I think for me, like that was a who knew moment. When I'm 44, I'm just finished season 1 of my show. I have a second season coming. In between season 1 and season 2, I discover that I'm carrying a child with my partner, and I'm like, not but it was like, oh,
right, yeah,
nice surprise. And my kids were older. My daughter was 18 at the time, and my son was a teen. I think I forget the ages now, but the current ages by the end of the year, 24, 18, and 6. And so there's a big gap. And so they're like, you're having a baby, mom? Like, are you too old for this? So who knew? That's another who knew moment that I'm really happy that happened. And she's a lovely addition to our family and keeps me on my toes. And so that's the only other who knew moment. And in that moment, I think really too, what's really great and the impact to my business is that for all of the women who are 38 to say even up to 44 or 43 who think, is it possible? Can I have a child? I cannot say that everybody's going to have the same success and healthy outcome that I did. And I feel so blessed that I got to experience that. But that also, I've been through a divorce, I've been through a separation, I've had an older pregnancy, I've lost a child in a previous pregnancy. So all of these who knew moments really brings me to where I am today. And that's somebody that has had a lot of experiences and can now relate to those who come to me with these kinds of experiences, tragic, joyful, whatever. And I can empathize, I can relate, and I can give some encouragement to some of those women and men who are hoping to start families later in life and know that it's possible. So that's the only thing that I would share about that.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story. And I'm super excited to just continue to watch your journey. And gosh, I mean, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, we'll have to have you back on and highlight all the other moments that have led you to where you're at that point.
I really appreciate that. And thank you for having me. And if any one of your listeners want to get in touch, they can follow me on Instagram at Carmelia Ray. And if you Google me, you can find my website, carmeliaray.com, and all the things there. So thanks so much, Phil. It was a pleasure.